How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Port Entertainment. Today we're doing a virtual episode. Doing an interview with Asha, who is going to join us in a little bit. I just wanted to go ahead and welcome everyone to this episode, which is about yoga. And Asha is going to talk more about her practice and her spiritual practices. And one of the reasons why I'm curious is because I've been doing a lot of reading lately. For example, the Yoga Sutra, the Bhagavad Gita. And it all started with this book, really. I went to Barnes and Noble, got that book along with when I was in the religion bookshelf section. And I decided to get the book. I was like, oh, wow, I sure heard about the book before, but it's a short read. And I'm like, I can read it. And it was mind blowing. And then I got more curious about the religion because of the scriptures, what you learn from the verses of the Bhagavad Gita. And so we all heard about yoga, but we know the Western version of yoga, stretching, doing it to feel good. But the deep spiritual practice of yoga, that's what we're here to find out, to learn more about the Eastern practices that here in America, we only know by association. So, yeah, looking forward to this interview. I hope you enjoy this interview. And let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions that you need answered from me, from her. Welcome to the Port Entertainment. And I'm here with Asha. Asha, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Octavio.
Yeah. So we are here to learn. The podcast is about importing knowledge as entertainment. And one of the reasons why I wanted to interview is because part of my journey has been kind of like learning more about other cultures and other beliefs. But one of the and how I ended up more curious about Hinduism was when I went to Barnes and Noble and I actually got this book, the Bhagavad Gita, because I was in the religion section and I heard about the book before, and I didn't know it was it's probably like different, like thicker versions, but I was like, oh, I can get through this, see what it is. It was unbelievable. I think I recommend it to everyone. But yeah, and here I am. Our friend Nola, so we know each other. She you did an event with at her place, and I almost made it, which when that was like, oh wow, because synchronicities where I'm learning about this, and then this event comes around, so I'm like, it's just but here we are. So thank you for being here. So Asha, yeah. So before we get started, can you tell us a little bit more about your background? And and of course you can share about your beliefs or what the event was, I guess it was all about, yeah, and go from there.
Okay. Yeah. So, like you mentioned, my name is Asha, and I actually was born in the Bhakti tradition. So, I've been really greatly fortunate to, have had this opportunity and experience this particular lifetime of, just being born in a family that practices it. We're in our third generation of practitioners. So even my mom was raised in it. So it's something, and I plan on also raising my kids in it. But it's one of those things that's very embracing. It's focused on devotion. It's focused on love, of course. And I've found nothing better, nothing to equate to it. Wow. But as far as my own sort of personal side, if that's my
Mhm.
spiritual side, then my material side. Born and raised Jersey girl.
Okay.
I went to Rutgers University, graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science, and a few minors. I minored in religion and South Asian studies and stuff like that. And then I went on to physical therapy school, got a doctorate in physical therapy, and now I'm just practicing. I do a few different jobs. One of them is I own my own practice, Soul Rise Physical Therapy, which is more geared towards women's health and the
Okay.
specifically perinatal through postpartum population. And I love that particular population, not just because it's the most changing, and it's in other words, it's the one that you see within a 9 month, even past the 9 month period. I don't want to just include the pregnancy part of it,
Mhm.
but it's the one that you see the most change in, at least for me. Usually all the other changes that you see are over a lengthy period of time, but within 9 months, you're a mother's womb is has grown, her belly has grown, and then after that period, she successfully, hopefully, births a child,
Yeah.
and and her whole life changes, the whole paradigm shifts, to now, have been self-serving to now being self-sacrificing. So it's a really beautiful transformation, and I definitely want to support mothers through that process, and eventually, obviously, become a mother myself. So that's kind of
Yeah.
my background.
No, that's incredible. Like the focus on helping women go through one of the most important stages of their life. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
bringing life into
Hmm.
this world.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's amazing. I mean, yeah, that's another podcast, of course. Talking about
Absolutely.
all that. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Bhakti Yoga.
Hmm.
For anyone that hasn't heard it, like I mean, people have heard of yoga,
Hmm.
and even myself, my education is still limited to YouTube and books. I didn't grow up around it, um, and we all basically know the Western version of yoga. And from my understanding, there's different aspects or different limbs.
Hmm.
Uh, I heard that there were 8 limbs of
Eight
yoga.
limbs.
Is bhakti one of them, or is it like a different? Can
So, yeah, it depends on if you're sort of looking at, because there are 8 limbs of yoga, but if you're looking at sort of the overarching features, you're looking at Ashtanga yoga. Ashta means 8, and Anga means limbs. So that would be the Ashtanga yoga system.
okay.
But it depends on which particular yoga system you're looking at. So there's Jnana Yoga, there's Karma Yoga, there's Bhakti Yoga. All of those are obviously highlighted in the Bhagavad Gita. And then there's the Ashtanga yoga system. And then there's other variations too. If you go
Mhm.
deeply into that system, there's branches, Hatha yoga, Kriya yoga, and so many others. Now in the West, you can find a yoga pretty much on everything, to the point of it including goats. So goat
Yeah.
yoga.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I know a few friends that got certification in yoga, so I'm not sure, or like yoga, or like teaching yoga. I'm not sure if, from my understanding, or from what I've seen, is like just like anything else, is like there's a Western version of it. So,
Hmm.
so why or what's I mean, the way you talked about Bhakti Yoga, and it seems like it has a lot of benefits, and I wouldn't call them benefits, but it's very impactful in your overall life, I would
Hmm.
say. Um, so like when like how, and why is that, like, or how, like why is it like what why would you like, why does your family focus on Bhakti Yoga, for example? Is bhakti mean? What does bhakti mean?
Hmm. So bhakti literally means love and devotion,
Oh wow.
worship with loving devotion,
Okay.
and also even loving devotional service.
Mm.
So the epitome of that is really uncovered through the actual bhakti marg, or known as the bhakti path. You can even translate bhakti in more Western terms as being the yoga of the heart. So if you read in the Bhagavad Gita, you understand that the soul is not situated anywhere else except the heart, but no cardiologist or heart surgeon can go inside the heart and say, oh, look, I've picked out the soul with my tweezers, and I can now demonstrate to the whole world this is what the soul looks like. Because the soul naturally is meant to go through a yogic process, but it's not meant to connect the mind and body, because those are material matter. That's material,
Right.
parts
It's
of existence, so to
Mhm.
speak. But the real permanent feature of us is the soul, and the soul is meant to serve naturally. The soul is meant to serve love. The soul is meant to experience and reciprocate with love. And so that's really the bhakti process, is to be able to uncover that loving nature and to situate now the loving nature with its divine source of itself. And that is the yogic connection, is us as being souls with the divine, as in the divine masculine, divine feminine.
Wow.
So that's bhakti in a nutshell.
Okay. So, would someone um, worshiping Jesus Christ be practicing bhakti yoga in a way?
Sure.
Or okay, because that's what I was learning, or like kind of like my realization was, which another book, the Yoga Sutra that I have right here.
Oh, by Dr. Bryant.
Yeah, he's actually from teaches here in Jersey, right?
He did retire, but he used to be my
Okay,
professor.
because I was
So
looking at the his picture and like a little bit about his background, and yeah, he's from Temple, Rutgers University, I think.
Rutgers University, yeah.
Um,
He was in room 108 in the religion department. We
wow,
always knew where to find him.
nice. So you met him?
Yeah, he was my professor. And
Interesting.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, he taught Hindu philosophy. We had a Krishna class my sophomore year, and so
Mhm.
basically all the kids that had grown up in this tradition, this culture of bhakti, we all attended that class. So we
Mhm.
were all in the same class together, and just really appreciating, him going through. We had made a special request to him to read a certain version, because we were going through um, the Mahapuran, and that is the Srimad Bhagavatam. So you may or may not have heard of that, but we were going through that book, and there's multiple cantos. There's 12 cantos. Cantos just means volumes or
Mhm.
books, and they're very large books. They're pretty thick.
Okay.
So we were going through that our semester or during the year, and once we got to the 10th canto, which is really the most, it has the sweetest of stories about the divine. You saw definitely a change in Dr. Bryant's, sort of attitude, in which he just lit up like a light. Like he was just so much more, because we were going through the various things. Talks about creation, talks about evolution, talks about all of these different things, and different stories that are in place. The entire Mahapuran is many stories, what we call pastimes. But once we got to the 10th one, that contained really the sweet, loving pastimes of the divine, Dr. Bryant just sort of took off from there. So it was really sweet to see. So
Yeah, and I mean, that's where, I mean, it was hard to get into the book at first, because
Mhm,
it's full of commentary, and then it's the sutras, which the commentary is about.
mhm,
And from someone who is just learning on their own, they're like, you don't really know like how, like, you just hoping it'll catch your attention, kind of like any book, right? And at
mhm,
first it was like, it's a long, it's a thick book. So, but I gave it a shot, and I seen a video that said start with the second chapter because that's like more for intermediate people. Like, so I started with that, and then I jumped back to the first chapter. But started getting more interesting. I started taking my highlighter out,
mhm,
like learning the different terms. Um, but yeah, like it was a part about like the devotion, which bhakti, and and then started like, wait, our so yoga, and there's like other, like what we do in like the Abrahamic religions is we we worship a god, or we worship God.
mhm,
And I feel like in a way it is falls under yoga if you look at it in that perspective. But I mean, of course, someone might say like, no, they're two totally different things.
mhm,
But devotion, right? And the benefits of devotion, for lack of a better word, right? And how, yeah, like yeah, it just like you start connecting like different ideas, because I grew up without religion, really. You grew up, which you said third generation. My parents, attended church here and there, so I'm more familiar with Christianity. And then here in Philly is like I met a lot of Muslim brothers, so I learned more about the Islamic religion as well. Um, and I never thought I would be looking into Hinduism, but here I am, learning about Hinduism, and of course I'm this connected to Buddhism as well. Also got books of the Tao, so all over the place. But it's uh, it's very rewarding, because you look at things from, instead of from a bird's, like, it's from it, instead from a biased perspective, you look at things from like bird's eye view of what religion is, and you start seeing more of like the Venn diagram of like how I feel like we all like, in a way, uh, the truth is there, and then we're like, the religion is trying to, there's religion like a vehicle to get closer to God, to
mm.
me. So I don't know, what's your take on like I mean, I know you um like I said, you um growing up around Bhakti Yoga, have you like looked at other religion? I mean, I'm sure like you have Christian friends, you have Muslim friends. Are they curious about your practices, your beliefs, and yeah, who can, or like the people that like you try and spread the message to, like what do they have to, how are they, like, how do you prepare them to, like, hey, like, now you're ready for Bhakti Yoga? Or is
Mm.
it like just come and as you are?
Yeah, it's definitely more a come as you are, because bhakti, and even if you, I don't really like to use the term Hinduism, because I don't
Mhm.
think that uh, Hinduism is an adequate terminology. You don't find the term Hinduism or even Hindu in the Vedas,
Right.
in any Upanishads or anything of that nature. So
Mhm.
um, Hindu was a geographical term, um, because it related to a river known as the Sindhu River.
Yeah.
And if we just do a quick sidebar to this, because I'll get back to answering your question, uh, but Hindu related to this particular geographical area or related to this river called Sindhu. When the Persians came to invade India, then they could not somehow pronounce the ha sound, and so they could not pronounce the s sound, so somehow it became known as a ha sound. Somewhere it translated into more of an h sound. So then you have this river known as the Hindu River. All the land east of that river is known as Hindustan. Stan means land of, like Pakistan, Afghanistan. So land of the Afghanis or land of the Pakis, land of the Hindus. And then modern day, this is known as the Indus River. All the land east becomes known as India. So Hindu is more geographical, which is why I don't really like using the term, because even in India, you have many, many different practitioners of many different cultures, many different traditions, many different religious backgrounds. So Hinduism is just not an adequate term. Bhakti, in terms of this very sort of bhakti, like I said, can be universal in a sense. Because it speaks about devotion. To your point earlier, when you said, can practitioners who follow, like, Jesus Christ, for example, are they considered bhakti practitioners? Are they doing bhakti? Yes, because what did Jesus Christ come to teach? He came to spread the message of love of God, love of the divine. No matter what you may call God, you can call him Yeshua, you can call him Yahweh, you can call him Buddha, you can call him Allah, you can call him Krishna, you can call it any name. In the Bhakti tradition, at least from what the Krishna Bhakti tradition, Krishna has many names. So, and I can go through a list of them. We don't probably have time for that, but, to your point in relation to, having Christian friends and possibly relatives. I mean, my father and my father's side of the family are Christian. So I grew up going to both the church and temple. I studied religion in college, and that was both Eastern and Western religions, including Zoroastrianism and Judaism, Islam, all of that. The reason why I say that nothing really comes close is because within what we practice in terms of bhakti, if you want to look at it from a larger umbrella term, then not Hinduism, but the term Sanatan Dharma. So Sanatan basically means almost like a permanency, that something that cannot be changed. And Dharma very loosely translates. A lot of people translate Dharma as being duty, as some of them translate it as religion. But in English, these are not adequate definitions for Dharma. Dharma is something that's really unchanging, especially when it's Sanatan. Sanatan is a permanent Dharma. It's a constitutional thing. It's ontologically that thing. There's nothing that can change it. Like, for example, you in this particular lifetime are Octavio, but in another lifetime, you may have been Fred or Bob, or you may have been Jane or Janet. And those are specifically, sort of demographically one particular type of name, but maybe in another, form, you could have also been, I'm trying to think of another name from another particular background or tradition. But you get my point. Since the body is always changing, what permanent thing is there about you? Nothing is permanent. Right now, even you and sitting right there are still changing. There's something about you that is changing. And whether it is the molecules or the atoms or everything, because naturally the aging process has to occur. So every single second, the body is aging. Every single second, every minute of every hour, everything is changing within the body. And gradually, according to time, and moving closer to when the jaws of time close on us, which is known as death. But besides all of that, the only permanent feature of us, who we truly are, is the soul. So when speaking about Sanatana Dharma, that means that the permanent feature, this dharma, this so-called religion, and I say this again with very loose terms, religion, if we're thinking about what is the religion of the soul, the religion of the soul can only be one thing, and that is service to God in a loving, devotional way, in a relationship with the divine or God, no matter what you may refer to him as. So I don't particularly, and it not only I, but also my teachers, my gurus, the entire Guru Varga, which is known as the disciplic succession, is just a line of gurus and their disciples. So basically, teachers and disciples, teachers and disciples. It's just a long, unending line of gurus and their disciples who have come to preach this message, similar to the way Jesus Christ has.
Yeah.
And they have all said that Sanatana Dharma is not a faith-like religion in terms of the secular, ecclesiastical type of religion that you experience in most major religions today. Because these things, like what you might be doing right now, is you're interested in multiple paths. You find something true in multiple paths, and that's because there is a truth to multiple paths, because they're like rungs on a ladder, all leading to this eternal, permanent dharma that we're all trying to achieve. But because of the inclinations of our individual personalities, multiple religions have been put into place because we have different tastes for different things at a given time. So if we truly understand what the nature of us as a soul is, we would not have nearly the amount of wars and arguments and debates that we have, because of people saying that, well, you practice something different than what I practice.
My religion is the right one.
Exactly. Your God is different from my God.
Yeah.
My religion is right. Your religion is wrong. All of these different arguments that people posit, and all of those things are just irrelevant, because the nature of who we truly are is as a service to the divine. We're divine beings. The nature of the soul is divine in a minute form, but still it's related to divinity, because the divine God is divine, in a major way. So, how I sort of prepare, these are basically all the types of points that I speak to multiple people about. We go to different festivals and we have books and art that we present, all based on this practice of Sanatana Dharma or Bhakti Yoga. And we try to tie people back to ultimately where they're ultimately searching, even if they're going down different routes in order to get there. But the thing with bhakti is that it's very direct. If I ask you right now to touch your nose, and you can easily just go like this, but if we're going down all of these different paths in order to come to bhakti in the future, then it's like we've gone a roundabout way. We're now asking, someone to put their hand, around their nose or around their head in order to come and touch their nose. So that's in other words why we try to share about this practice, because it's not a religion. It is a practice. And it's not one of those religions that, changes from here to there like a leaf in the wind. So.
Well, I look at, like, I make the analogy of not comparing, but whenever you try to learn how to, like, become really good at fighting, there's like different schools or different, like, you can do it on your own. Like, you can learn like how to, like, fight on your own, like, and then, or you can look at the different martial arts are there and go to a master of the arts, and there's different different martial arts to learn how to become a great fighter.
Hmm.
So, religion is like a way that to get closer to God. So it's
Hmm.
like different ways, I would say like, yeah, some are better than others. I mean, I guess who am I to compare them? But in the essence is of like, we're trying to get closer to God, or to that, we're trying to find that, yeah, like basically that connection get, and that's how that's why I tell people is like, we have to separate religion from the divine, what we are all like, what we're all trying to, like, words are not enough, like, and then everything goes through the lens of a human. So every time, like, maybe you have a spiritual revelation, or you have something that you experience, as soon as you try to tell someone about it, it's coming from you, from your lenses as a human, right? So I just see that even the when religions got started, like the books that were put down, like a lot of like the sages and the ones that found that enlightenment, I mean, a lot of them were like reluctant to write about it or like to share it, because everyone has to experience it on their own, right? But eventually they had to put it down for like people so they can, like, pass it on. But yeah, like, and then it gets more interpretations from person to person, and then we know it all, that what's it called, that game, as the phone tag game, where the message gets distorted as it goes through.
Yeah, like whisper down the lane.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you. I just yeah, like, I mean, what you're seeing nowadays in the world is like, um we all feel like, we don't feel that connection. Like, they're different than us, or like they're, I don't know. It's I'm hoping for the world to improve. Like, and do you feel like that, what you practice and what you are spreading is, in a way, hoping that it will impact the world, or like the people, and maybe eventually, maybe we tilt the scale a different way. I mean, uh, I mean, you can turn on the news or go on social media and see, all the destruction that humans are causing, because of, yeah, we're lost in the sauce.
Hmm.
Yeah. No. I just,
But
like,
you asked, sorry to interrupt, but you asked if what
yeah.
we follow or what we practice, like the message that is being spread, if we hope to
Hmm.
change the world. And yeah, absolutely. Um, to make the world more God conscious,
Hmm.
more divine conscious, more self aware, more conscious in general, really. Because if we're speaking about consciousness, that's in relation to the soul. So if I'm trying to, not me specifically, but the message of my teachers that I'm trying to share with others, first thing comes that, am I actually practicing without duplicity or hypocrisy?
Right.
And if I am, then it makes it more authentic if I can then share. But if I'm coming from a place where I'm not practicing and I'm not being in my authentic self,
Hmm.
then me doing a lip service of saying certain things or spreading a certain message, though it may sound very good, but I'm not putting it into practice myself. So then it just builds upon that hypocrisy. And those are defining features of this age, really. the two features of the age of Kali, which is the age that we're in. Kali just means darkness, but the two features are quarreling and hypocrisy. And you see that pretty much everywhere. There's no place that you can go where those two things don't exist. The nature of Kali Yuga is such that even if we're in a golden period, so to speak, for however many years, be it thousands of years, 10,000 years, whatever it might be. And that period might be thwarting the effects that Kali Yuga has in store, so to speak, because every age sort of has, like I mentioned, those characteristics. And then it naturally, with the various individuals in this world who are not self-aware, they're not conscious beings, they become controlled under the merits of that age. They become controlled by the characteristics of the age. They become controlled by the modes, really, of material nature. If we're thinking of material nature, then there's three modes that come up. You have the sattva gun, rajagun, and tamagun. Tamagun means in ignorance. It's the mode of ignorance.
Yeah, I learned about that on the book, like the Rajas, Tamas, and the
Yes, and sattva, yeah. So, and then rajagun is mode of passion. Sattvagun, mode of goodness. These are still within the material plane. We as practitioners of bhakti, specifically, or Sanatana Dharma, our goal is not simply just to practice in the mode of goodness. Yes, that is naturally what is occurring. Any of the practices that we do are done in the mode of goodness, but that's not the aim and objective, to just be a good person, to be a good human being. It's to transcend all of those material modes of nature, because they still are material in nature. So once a practitioner transcends those things, then that's when actual yoga can take place. Actual union with the divine can take place. But once you're still being sort of subverted under those modes, you're almost like a puppet. So the rest of the world, being unconscious, really, of God or of themselves as being souls, and them thinking that I am this body, being under that illusion or Maya, I am this body, I am that, I am the Lord of all that I survey. This is mine. It's all about me. This is my phone. This is my life. This is my truth. This is mine. This is my family. This is my unit. This is my tribe. It's all about me. So the center of the world really only focuses on me. It has nothing to do with God. So you now have a godless society that is, in attempt to make the world a better place.
Right.
We pass all of these laws, we pass all of these, sub laws and all of these different things to try to sort of thwart the effects that have already been put into place by those same individuals who are taking money from those corrupted individuals who are controlled by those material modes, who are simply self-serving and have nothing to do with service to actually God. So you have a cycle here, you have a loop, and that really binds all of these individuals within the cycle of birth and death. And it's an endless cycle. It just keeps on going and going and going until finally you wake up and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on. I feel like I've been here before. I feel like I've been doing this, and like I've been doing this for a long time. And then you start to question, like, well, what am I doing here? Why is this place full of suffering? Why am I suffering? What is my purpose? Who am I?
Why am I not satisfied?
Why am I not satisfied? Why am I not happy? Why is this world not filled with a bunch of happiness and loving utopian style humans that are all sort of coming together under one flag, and we can all hold hands and sing Kumbaya? Why are we not doing that? And the real nature the real reason is because within this age of Kali, or even just forget the age of Kali, just within this world is a temporary staying place. It's not our actual home. If we think and we get distracted and we try to make this world very comfortable, and we become distracted in thinking that this is my actual home, then that's when we take God out of the picture. I remember one of my patients was a Jehovah Witness, and the patient, along with his sister, were there for each of my sessions and told me what the word ego means. So ego means ease God out. So that's essentially the nature of us as human beings, is that we've developed this illusory, we're covered with this illusion and thinking I'm the body, I'm my mind.
Yeah.
And so we've developed this false ego and
Life
thinking
is
that
meaningless. Like there's no meaning. There's like
there's nothing more, that
right.
this is just it. This is me. This is who I am. That's it. This is my family. This is my brother. This is my sister. These are my parents. These are my children. This is it. This is all. I only have one life. Here it is. But that's not what Sanatan Dharma talks about. Dharma talks about something so much bigger. Talks about instilling hope in us that this is not our home. It's just a temporary staying place. I've literally leased this body. I've leased my stay here in this world. And then after I quit this body, if I've not attained that eternal, for lack of better word, salvation, or if I've not attained, liberation, or if I've not attained God's abode, then I have to keep sort of going through the cycle of birth and death until I finally figure it out. And then I realize, like, oh, wait, this is actually not my home. I should go home. I should go back home, back to God and not here. So yes, we're trying to spread this message. We're in the hope that we can remind people and have people wake up, saying Jeev Jago. Jago means to wake up, sleeping soul, and say that, don't forget where you've come from. You are part and parcel of the divine. You're part and parcel of the divine creation. Don't forget where you've come from. That wake up, wake up, wake up. Go back home, back to Godhead. That is what one of our teachers would say. And that same teacher, Shalesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he's a spiritual master in our line. He also said that this world, he equated this earthly plane, this world, like a latrine or a bathroom. And he said that, what do you do going to the bathroom? You go in, you do your business, and you get out. You don't stay in the bathroom. You don't live in the bathroom. There are some people, granted, who maybe would like to have something like that, even a roof over their head. So a bathroom is a nice staying place, but you don't live in the bathroom. You go in, you do your business, and you get out. That is just like being in this world. You come here, do your business, whatever particular activities we might be doing. You hopefully will come to the realization, this is not my home. I need to go back home. Back home is with God. And that's it.
That is it. Well, I mean, and yeah, like it's a like yeah, like I mean, yeah, like you said, Kali Yuga. Like I mean, I was reading. I don't know if you read Lao Tzu. He talks about we're gonna be in the age of confusion and the age of ignorance in the future. He predicted that, and here we are. And that's the predictions in the Quran, and then there's certain prophecies of like, but yeah, there's all like the end of times. I mean, a lot of it is like like you said, like when you believe that this is it, like a lot of people are like, let me see what I can get away with, because this is it, and let me see how much money I can get here because this is it, and but they know like that, or when they see death as the end, I mean, of course they're gonna have that fear, and that's why we got all this greed or like all this hoarding. So I mean, when people realize that that's like money is not gonna. I mean, you see people, you see celebrities, you see, um, you know, celebrities that have everything, you know, that take their life because they're not satisfied. You know, you know, and that's you see rich people trying to get richer and richer and all this, you know, with the chip on their shoulder. I mean, living in their ego, and you're like, wow, like, and I mean, we all had that dream when I mean, when I was younger, like all my friends, like, oh, I want to get rich, I want to get rich, but then you see all this stuff on the news about like rich people like having problems, you know. So it's just, you know, you start looking like, okay, so if this is not doesn't make you happy, then what does? And yeah, you start like having that. I mean, I used to always say that there's a we're in a like in a fit in three journeys, like a physical journey, see how what we can do with this body, and then there's a spiritual journey. You know, there's a mental journey, like where see what you can do with your mind. You know, see how what you can do with your imagination and all that. But there's a like the spiritual journey is like the one that will bring you more joy. You know, more satisfaction when it I guess. And but yeah, like so when it comes to like you said you for someone that's wanting to learn more about like the teachings that you have received, is there like um do you recommend like finding a guru or like a yogi, or is or like going to a temple, um or just doing their own research?
Yeah, I mean, for those that are genuinely inquisitive about this particular process, I mean, first, when it comes to guru, guru will find you. You know, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And
Mm,
that's always the case, really.
right.
Um, so, you know, you mentioned at the beginning of the synchronicity, you know, of how you sort
Yeah.
of entered into this, you know, and were seeking, and then you've found out that we were doing a bhakti, you know, night, and with, you
Hmm.
know, so a little bit of kirtan and stuff like that. So there definitely are no coincidences in that regard. And for those that are interested, I mean, there's obviously there's a number of books that you can go. There's a number of places that you can go and visit. There are temples. You know, there's a lot of ISKCON temples, or
Hmm.
you know, Hare Krishna centers or Bhakti center, in pretty much every major city in the country, and what to speak of the country, the entire world. So you can go anywhere in the world and you will find genuinely a temple, or generally a temple.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the books that I always, you know, recommend, and we always have really at our Bhakti books and art table, is the one that you held up, but this is just the one that Srila Prabhupada translated, and this is the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And so the reason this is a pocket version, but the
Yeah.
Bhagavad Gita,
I got this one, the Upanishads as well.
yeah,
It's a short one, but
yeah, there's a number of books. I always recommend starting with Bhagavad Gita.
yeah.
Um, and also specifically the reason why starting with as it is, that version, is because there are many versions of the Bhagavad Gita. And
Hmm.
naturally they're going to give, the author is going to give their own interpretation as to what the verse means, but they're not going to transliterate the verse, nor will they actually provide it in accordance to what the intention or the mood is behind that particular verse.
Hmm.
So Srila Prabhupada did one very unique thing by not only inscribing as it is to present Bhagavad Gita in an uncontaminated, unadulterated way and you know form, but also in the introduction he described how there's many Bhagavad Gitas and how they're subject to contamination. In other words, they're subject to
Hmm.
one's own personal thinking. Like for example, in the Ramayan, I don't know if you've heard the Ramayan, about Lord Ram and Sita.
Yeah, I want to get that one. I need
Yeah,
to read that one. Yeah.
yeah, it's very, very, very beautiful, and also at the same time very sad. Heart, you know, heart wrenching. So there was one particular instance in the Ramayana where Lord Ram, in order to establish what a righteous king would do in a situation like his own, where he had just rescued Sita, brought her back to Ayodhya. They were living happily. Eventually, she became pregnant, and one Ram overheard this washerman, and this washerman had his wife who had I guess it was raining the night before or something or other, and so she stayed the night away from her husband. She was maybe at her father's home or her brother's home, and she came the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And the washerman was very offended, and he said to his wife that I am not Lord Ram, that I will just accept you back after you stayed in another man's home. And so Lord Ram felt that, well, what am I supposed to do? And he was in a little bit of what some may externally see as a dilemma, that how am I going to establish righteousness, and what is the proper action? What should I take? And so he told his younger brother Lakshman that you go, you take Sita. Sita has always had the desire to live in an ashram. And so I want you to go and take her along this path and drop her here. And the various sages who were in that particular area, they will take her into their care and into that ashram. It was not just a men's only. It was women were there, children were there, like that. So Lakshman had a very difficult time doing this. And he was literally in tears that how can you do this? That you were my brother. I respect you so much, but how are you letting your wife? Why are you doing this to your wife? That what has she done? Why are you punishing her like this? And so Lord Ram, he kept a bit more quiet, but he did not say much, but he just told and ordered his younger brother that, no, you please, you go and you do this, that kindly, please go and do this.
Mm-hmm.
So very reluctantly, Lakshman, he took Sita and they went into the forest, and then that's where he was just in tears the entire way, basically begging at her feet. And Sita, she was very understanding of the situation. And that she even said to her brother-in-law that, do you want any bad name to come to your brother? That, you're thinking that, he is doing like this, but do you think that he doesn't know what he is doing? And do you not think that I also don't know? So, in other words, the way that this particular pastime or story
Mm-hmm.
took place was so sweet, so heart-wrenching, so intimate, but somehow or other, by the external view, a Western audience might perceive that and being like, oh, Ram has banished his wife from the kingdom, and look at how bad he is. He's such a horrible husband, all of these different
Mm-hmm.
things. And how could he do this to his
Yeah.
pregnant wife? And then you have a story called Sita Sings the Blues. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but um, I'm not advocating for it. I'm not recommending it. I'm not, doing anything of that nature. But this was an animated film that came out sometime in the 2000s, maybe 2012, or I don't know exactly what year. And in this film came out in order to speak on how Ram had kicked his wife out and how Sita, was singing the blues of how her husband had banished her. It was just a totally wrong interpretation as to what had occurred. in
Right.
this particular pastime. And so that's why it is important to be able to be under guidance and
Yeah.
not just to, because if you do your own self-study, you will be able to maybe understand a little
Mhm.
bit, maybe understand in a superficial way. But then when you actually approach practitioners, people who know or people who have heard from their own guru, and they can share something, and then gradually, the process is that you then move into that circle, especially if you're satisfied with what you're hearing. If things are making sense to you, it's resonating with you, it's clicking with you, you're connecting with it, then it
Mhm.
makes sense for you to move in that direction. And okay, now I feel like I want a guru. But prematurely in the beginning to, sort of jump to that conclusion that, oh,
Mhm.
that takes a very special person, first of all, to say that they want to have a guru. But I guess what I'm saying is that, um, it's very easy for someone to interpret or misinterpret, rather, certain things without being under guidance of people who have actually studied or who actually know.
Yeah.
Um, so,
Yeah. So, like we mentioned that it's the interpretation, or everything's always interpreted by a person. So whenever someone translates a version of one of those books or sacred books, text, they're gonna be different. You know, they're gonna bring their own bias into it, right? Yeah, like you mentioned the introduction on that one, and this the Upanishads I have here
mhm,
I started with the introduction, and he was making connections between the different religions too, as in
mhm,
like what we know from the Western religions, and overall what the meaning behind everything and the connection. So that was like very the introduction was on itself was very compelling.
mhm.
But yeah, like I mean, just wanted to like wrap it up, like but I wanted to mention like one thing, um like for example that people that are coming from a religion from Western religion, and most of them are monotheistic, and then there's like they want to learn more about like there's different like gods and the teachings, as in there's Sri Krishna, Lord Rama, um, Shiva, Brahma, and yeah, but overall there's like a divine or supreme being, right? Brahman, or I'm
So,
not saying it right, but
no, no, you pronounce it Brahman. Yes, you pronounced it right. Yeah.
and so a lot of people are like that kind of like uh keeps them away, like, oh, how can they have so many gods, you know? And
Mhm,
or like yeah, like I mean it's, but from my understanding or from what I'm learning is like this was the word that the anthropomorphization of the divine, like you know that they be like for in the Bible and in the Quran there's like the concept of like do not put an image or like worship or put anything on the image, but then there's like the other interpretation of like what yoga where it's like you need this because he'll help you in a way like concentrate, right, and focus your energy.
mhm,
But yeah, I just wanted like as in like what's how can you like bridge, how can we bridge that gap, as in like oh like there's people that just oh like there's like so many gods, and then there's like there's only one god, like
mhm,
this. To me, I feel yeah there's like there's that's a big like division, or that keeps people from bringing that that connection that we're seeking basically.
mhm. Yeah, that's a good question. In relation to Sanatan Dharma, and specifically within the Krishna Bhakti tradition and culture, that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So there is no one equal. There's no one above Krishna. And not only that, but specifically within this particular line, we don't worship Krishna alone. Krishna is Shaktiman, who is the possessor of all energy. Krishna himself, the word Krishna, means all attractive. So Krishna is all attractive to all beings. He is the center, he is the focus. And at the same time, he is also the possessor of all energies. The jiva, or the soul, is a form of that energy. So he is the source of that energy, as in what is known as Tatashta Shakti. We don't have to go into that. These are all Sanskrit terms, but Shakti you may be familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Shakti is energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a divine masculine that is Krishna. He
Mm-hmm.
is Shaktiman, or excuse me, the possessor of energy. And then there is Shakti. Shakti is represented by divine feminine.
Mm-hmm.
That is known as Sri Radha. So she is the ultimate energy, and he is the possessor of that energy. So it's not just simply worshiping monotheistically of Krishna. It's worshiping absolute reality,
Mm-hmm.
as in, or absolute truth, in the forms of divine masculine, divine feminine. Because oftentimes we get the question of, well, why does God have to be a man? Why
Right.
can't he be a she? Well, they're both. there's
Yeah.
there's he and she, and for different reasons. Why there's divine masculine, divine feminine, a Shaktiman, possessor of energy, and Shakti, energy itself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as the polytheism versus monotheism, really within the Krishna Bhakti path, it is not polytheistic. And you can even mostly go into most other paths, I guess, within the paradigm of what is known as modern day Hinduism, that they may say, some may say,
Mm-hmm.
that it is polytheistic, but the reason being is because they do not have a proper understanding
Yeah.
as to the differentiation between demigods and God. They think everyone is equal and everything is equal. And we, on the other hand, say that this is not true, that there is, in some way, shape, or form, a hierarchy, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
For lack of a better word, there's a hierarchy. There is the supreme person or personality that takes on two forms, but still they're non-different from each other. Radha and Krishna are non-different from
I
each
guess
other.
when you enter the realm of duality, right, where things are like, there's a oneness, but then there's the duality where we live in, and we need where everything is separate, as in there's division between this and that. So
There's a oneness and duality, yes.
yeah.
Yes. There's what is in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy, he calls this Achintya Bhed Abhed. So this Sanskrit term actually means simultaneously one and different. That we as souls are simultaneously one with God and also different from God. And there's multiple, reasons for why that is. There's multiple functions and a list of things that we can go through. But that also includes the demigods as well. So when you look at Brahma, when you look at Shiva, when you look at Durga Devi, Kali Ma, when you look at Ganesh, when you look at Saraswati, Lakshmi, when you look at all of them,
Mm-hmm.
these are all various manifestations of that supreme person. They are not equal to. They're like cabinet members within the presidency, within the presidential, arena. That there is one president, there's a vice president, and then there's their cabinet. The cabinet members are the demigods. They carry out various functions for the president, but they are not the president. They cannot take the place of the president. They get their energy, they get their duty, they get their function from the president or from the nature of what the role calls for. So
Yeah.
now if we look at the sun god, the moon god, the wind god, the god of water, the god of the ocean, the god of
Right.
fire, you can look at any particular demigod who is, or the god of the ruling planet, the god who rules the planet of Jupiter, Saturn, Mars. Any,
Hmm.
you can take a look at, and there's billions of universes, infinite universes that are within the Vedic cosmology. It's not just one universe. These are all controlled by one supreme person. However, and they rest on that one supreme person. However, the
Is person
various
the right word? Person.
person is the right word.
Yeah.
Person is the right word. If we, how can you have a personal relationship with God
Hmm.
if God is not a person?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just feel that it's beyond that, right? Just.
Well, if you're thinking from the perspective of human-like person, then yes. But when I say person, I'm not speaking of a human person.
Like an entity or.
Entity is a good word, or even supreme personality of Godhead,
I
if
like.
you will.
Yeah, I like to say that super sentient being, like like just because it's
Super.
sentient, but then it's like super sentient, like it's beyond.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But if we were to say that God is just an entity that maybe is a light, because there's many things that can be an entity.
Yeah.
A ghost can also be an entity, a
Mhm.
supernatural entity. So there's many things that can take the place of entity. The reason why we put person or personality and couple that with God is because that is the nature of God. God does have a personality. If you think of where, if we think that somehow something comes from nothing, as in nothing means an entity, or nothing means light, or nothing means that there's no personality, there's no person behind all of this, then where do we come from? How do we have these bodies? Even in the Bible, it says that God has made man in his own image. So
Mhm.
naturally, God also must have a form, and his
Right.
form must be similar to ours. We can only deduce that based on what is written in our scriptures.
Mhm.
So, of course, yes, a supreme person, a supreme personality, supreme
Okay.
entity, however you want to term it.
Mhm.
But the point is that personality or person must be there because there is a personal relationship that can be had with God. If there wasn't, then there would be no need for any of these things, and we just practice meditation for the next 10,000 years and we attain enlightenment, and then that enlightenment might take us anywhere in the Vedic cosmos, to a planet, or to to nirvana, or to a state of nothingness, darkness, whatever it might be. We might see the light and we might merge in with Brahman, and that's it. Brahma Jyoti, which is the known as the sort of the light, that or sort of emanates from God. So,
Mm.
depending on what part
Yeah.
of, the what aspect of God you want to get into, there's multiple aspects because there's multiple tastes for the various, living beings in this world. They don't necessarily want service to a personal form of God. Maybe they want only enlightenment. Maybe they want only uh, merging in with a divine light. Maybe that's it. Some people, they want that. That's what their aim and objective is. And so their aim and objective is not the person God, is not the person Bhagavan, the person Ishwar or Isha. Their their function is the impersonal form of God.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, when you come down to understanding that, no, all of these forms, Shiva is not equal to Krishna. Brahma is not equal to Krishna. Vishnu is not equal to Krishna. They're all expansions of him.
Mm-hmm.
They have their various functions, but they do not equal him.
Yeah. Okay. No, yeah, I was just like it's it's definitely like something that will take more than like 30 minutes to talk about, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I appreciate like we definitely like well, I want to be respectful of your time and but I appreciate yeah, doing this I would say first interview because I would like to eventually have you again and like speak further about like and maybe we have some questions that people want to want to ask and we can bring them to you and maybe we can have other um, um, people coming to the podcast as well like you that you want to like uh, that you believe they can also help we just trying to like I said like import knowledge and entertainment but because nowadays the entertainment is just entertainment it's not really knowledge and
Mm-hmm.
eventually knowledge leads to wisdom right and I feel like wisdom is one of the I realize that that's the main thing that will get you like further in life to just more like you don't need like the material things when you have wisdom and of course when wisdom comes like a way of living a way of you're gonna carry yourself so yeah, I appreciate everything they have shared, and I am grateful for yeah, like definitely do this again.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you
Ready
so much.
to yeah, and hopefully, do you have any final messages for like or like any I would say plugs or of any events or anything that you want to share? Like where they can find you.
Yeah. Well, if you wanted to get in touch with me, you
Mhm.
can go to my Instagram handle. It's bhakti.southjersey. I don't. I just have that one. I mean, I understand that most people are on there. They have a personal account. Like I said, I'm not really a social media person. As much as I can stay off of it is
Yeah.
as much as I do. But I'm also on Facebook. I only have those two. And uh, if anyone's interested in kirtan, which is musical mantra meditation, we have one next Friday. That
Mm.
is January 12th at 6:30 at the Veda Den, and that's in Cherry Hill, right near where the Whole Foods is. It's just on the other side. And so we'll be doing a 2-hour kirtan there, also having these types of conversations, and
Okay.
so I'm sort of in a reflection mode as to what I'm going to speak on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we have more kirtans coming up. We have
You do
variety
them,
of.
okay. So you do them often, or for people to attend?
Yeah, so I collaborate with another individual within our community who
Mhm.
also offers kirtans as well, and so I drum for him, and sometimes
Mhm.
I'll also share a couple of things, but usually at the ones that I do, it's where I'm actually singing and drumming, and then also
Yeah.
my family is involved as well,
So
and then mhm.
I was gonna say, so the goal is to stay or to give us like to spend your as much time in devotion as possible. Like for example, kirtan, singing. Um, is that the goal? As in, like we're here to worship to um, worship God, right? Is that what is this is based on us as well? Like I mean, I know we have like our day to day, and but is the goal to what is the goal of like this like kirtan event?
Kirtan. Yeah, so it's calling out the divine names of God.
Hmm.
Like when you say the Lord's prayer, hallowed be thy name.
Yes,
So that's essentially what we're doing, is that we are calling out the names of the divine,
Mm-hmm.
and in hopes that not only will the divine accept our offering and accept us and our service to the names, but also so that it awakens within us that eternal nature that we all constitutionally have, ontologically that we have. So that's really the purpose. Kirtan is a key tenet of bhakti, and it's the main sort of medicine of this age. You know, in other ages, Satyug, Treta Yug, Dwapar Yug, that there was other methods of that particular age, you know, like say fire sacrifice or even meditation. But in this particular age of Kali, because, and you can see it in most people, that our attention span is just so small. The window for us to stay attentive to something is just so short. And then if we have other things going on within our minds, and, you know, be it some sort of mental condition or otherwise, we will then lose even that much more focus. So that really lends itself to the fact that meditation alone is not really the message and the method of this particular age. It's not the yagya really of this age, or the sacrifice this particular age to engage in. That the real you know,
The medicine, or the, like you said,
the real method of this age is as Nam Sankirtan. The Yug, I'm trying to think of the term and now I'm totally blanking, but the it'll come back to me later. But anyway, the method of this particular age of Kali is Nam Sankirtan.
makes sense, because that's what, like you said, like our attention span is not, you know, it's very short, but also what we do a lot nowadays is like singing and dancing.
Yeah, I mean, I do that all the time. You know, I'll dance around my room like a nut. You know, I will sing in the shower. You know, I mean, one of my college friends or acquaintances told me that rhythm is in our blood, and even if you don't know how to dance, you don't know how to sing, it doesn't matter. Everyone can relate to music. Everyone can relate to those types of activities that sort of bring about another expression of ourselves. And so with kirtan, it's not about how you sound, it's not about how you dance, it's not about any of those things, it's not about how well you play an instrument. It's about how well you can use that instrument in service to the divine, in service to God. And so if you can properly utilize your body, your voice, your hands, and clapping, whether they're clapping or they're playing hand cymbals or they're drumming, whatever it is, that you are engaged in singing out the names and calling out the names of the divine, then that's not time wasted. That's time well spent.
You put that over meditation in today's age, like as in Kali Yoga, as we Kali Yuga.
Yes, because it's the it's the particular I'm sorry, it's the particular yagya of the age. It's the particular method for this age.
Interesting.
So just simple meditation, if you sit in a corner and you try to meditate, whether it be on you're saying om or anything, you're whatever your particular guided meditation, it doesn't matter what the meditation is. I guarantee you cannot sit there for 2 hours. And some people would say, oh, well, meditation, even for 2 minutes, is very good. Yes, for the body and mind, it can be very good. But what about for the soul? Some people will then equate, and like we talked about earlier, some people equate the soul to being the mind. But they're not related.
Right.
So the soul is living vicariously in this body. The body is a vehicle, and that also includes the mind as a vehicle. But when the soul quits the body, the soul does not take along with it the mind. It doesn't take along with it this body. It takes along with it the
It's-
consciousness and the
so
impressions that are in the consciousness.
interesting. Yeah, like I was just gonna say, like, what do you think about like? It's a lot of people nowadays. Like, you heard of Sam Harris?
Sam Harris?
Yes,
Is
he's
he a
like
singer?
no,
Oh,
no. He's well, the reason why I'm mentioning it is because like a lot of people nowadays recommend meditation, but they're like they don't believe in a divine or anything like that. So they want to do this, but then like they want to get rid of religion, or they want to get rid of all the spiritual uh, practices, or not practices, the concepts, or we know, and but they want to keep this little thing of it. It's
mhm.
I don't know. It's just like it's. I find it very interesting how that happens. Like he's an atheist and all this, and he's pushing all this, and but yeah, like a lot of people were like, oh yeah, I can meditate for 2 hours, and all this, and they do it every like at the beginning of the day, but yeah, without any, like you said earlier, like it's just it's not to reach like that connection, to that personal connection to to the higher person, you know.
Yeah. I mean, if the whole goal of meditate, I mean, if we were to take and really dissect meditation down, and if the goal of meditation is simply just to quiet the mind or to control the mind, the meditation alone can't do that, especially in this world. I can guarantee you that those people who are saying that I meditate for 2 hours, that their mind is probably wandering here and there, that they have to go and grab their mind back and say, no,
Mhm.
you sit where you are and you
Yeah,
listen.
eventually they're gonna run into a wall, right? Like they
You want to be able to, the mind is like a horse. It's running around, it's going here and there. I mean, and
Mhm.
there's so many senses that the mind is the master of. So
Mhm.
if you're meditating and you smell pizza, immediately your mind is going to go to that pizza because you smell it. Or
Yeah,
even not the other way around. If you smell something bad, you're going to be like, whoa, like what is that nasty smell? So
yeah,
the people who advocate and say, well, I can meditate for 2 hours, and that may be wonderful, but also what type of meditation are you doing? What's the efficacy of that meditation? And also, what's the point of it? If it's the point to control and quiet the mind,
yeah,
you probably can't accomplish that because you have nothing to subjugate the mind with. You're by your own endeavor, you cannot subjugate the mind. You cannot quiet the mind. You cannot control the mind. But there are people who think that they can. So I say, have at it, do it. Good luck.
right.
But I know, at least in my own life, in my 32 years in this particular subjective experience in this particular body, I haven't been able to control my mind yet. So I am in this path because not only is it very liberal and at the same time narrow and a little bit conservative, but it's liberal to this to the extent, and broad-minded to the extent that even if my mind wanders, I know the medicine, I know the practice in which I can reel my mind back. And almost the scriptures and the sacred texts all talk about that your mind is going to wander. That's the nature of the mind. But
Right.
that's not simply the goal, is to just control the mind. It's to make the mind our friend.
Mm. Yeah,
So if we can do that, then the mind can be under our control, and then we can actually really dive into yogic practice.
yeah, yeah. No, it's just like a lot of secular schools are just you know like we can meditate and all this. Well, I guess um like they want to keep the baby and throw away the bathwater or whatever, but
Yeah, in other words, right.
yeah. But yeah, well, thank you for again for your time. I mean, I hope
Absolutely.
yeah, we're able to do it again, and
Yeah, please come next Friday if you have time.
next Friday. You said is that would be
The 12th,
the
yeah.
12th. Awesome. Yeah, that would be lovely. All right. Hopefully, I'm able to bring some people around, people with me as well.
Yeah. As many, the more the merrier.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. And
Thank you.
all right. Till next time.
Yeah, thank you so much.